Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Excellent jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave acts in Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bësal mu fine. Wave. Your money is yours.
On Tuesday, the 7th of October, 2025, you're with Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. And joining us now is a man whose portfolio touches every facet of national development. He's the minister responsible for the roads we travel on, the buildings we rely on, and the infrastructure that powers our future. From transport reform to public works oversight and strategic infrastructure planning, Honorable Ebrima Sillah wears many hats, and today he is here to unpack them all, whether it's tackling traffic congestion, improving project transparency, or expanding digital access. We're diving into the full scope of the ministry, and Minister Sillah was here just a few minutes before 9 o'clock. Yeah. Welcome back to Coffee Time, Ebrima Sillah.
Thank you so much, Peter. And what a pleasant surprise with the studio that I'm in. I'm really very happy to see that West Coast has gone through some, very nice transformation. And we pray that this continues. I mean, really, the studio is remarkably nice.
We're still behind GRTS.
Well, I mean, I've not been in the GRTS studios for almost 2 years. You won't believe it. But really, this is really very nice. Congratulations.
So we're going to look separately in three distinct sections at the three pillars of your ministry: transport, works, and infrastructure. And if we may begin with public transport reform, what plans are in place to modernize public transportation, especially for commuters in teeming areas like my own municipality, Kanifing municipality, and Banjul?
Well, thank you so much. First of all, let me say that I thought I was coming here to represent Dr. Ismaila Cisse, who is on his annual leave.
Yes. Which is to tell us what government is doing.
Exactly.
And today specifically, you're here. We want to know what's happening in the areas of transport, works, and infrastructure.
Just to know, for the listeners and also your viewers to know that it's not that Peter is doing PR for me or my ministry. I'm here, not by coincidence, but to represent the Minister of Information, to speak on behalf of the government. Yes. And I'm happy that you're asking me about my ministry. Yes, yes, going back to your question, indeed, as you may know, the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure is currently doing a whole lot of policy review to bring in some reform processes within the transport ecosystem. Now we have currently contracted a consultant or a consulting firm to do a holistic review for us to look at our transport master plan that will look at different models of transportation in this country, not only vehicular transport, but also green, climate-smart transport in this country, because that is the future. And this consultancy will help the government to shape the policy orientation and directive in terms of where we are supposed to go. We can all say this is how we should do things, but let us be guided by tangible policy and data and facts, so that it can help with development planning and the aspirations that we have for this country in terms of transportation. So for urban transportation systems, we are hoping that the consultancy studies will actually bring out tangible, advices on the transmodal systems that we want to, venture into, to help with mass transportation systems that will be climate smart, but also that will be efficient in terms of dealing with all the problems that we have within the system. But that is also intertwined with our infrastructure policy that we are also developing, because even with the transport master plan that we have, if we don't have an infrastructure policy, if we don't have policies in place that will look at congestion in the country, that will look at the spacing in terms of the facilities that should be put on the roads, and also maybe tramways, and also even other smart transport facilities that we are intending to, venture into, then, it will be meaningless. That's why, this policy of cohesion is extremely very critical for us as a ministry, and we are very hopeful that following the studies, we will work with other sectors within the government and also development partners to push hard for some of these new initiatives.
I know you spoke about this before, road safety, with rising accidents.
Yeah.
What is your ministry doing to improve road safety and driver education in particular?
Yeah, Peter, this is a very serious concern for us as a ministry and also as a government. I mean, you will be surprised to know that Gambia is one of the most affected countries, not only in Africa but around the world, in terms of road crashes and fatalities. Small as we are, the data that we receive from the police alone in terms of accidents that they record, and remember that the police are not everywhere, this is really more than 30 to 60 accidents in a month. That is extremely very high, and most of them are really very fatal. People lost their lives, people lost limbs, and, people, bear the scar of some of these things, till death. And as a result, we have now formed a multi-stakeholder setting that we work with the National Transport Union, we work with the Gambia Police Force, we work with the regional administrations, we work with stakeholders, especially the civil society organizations, CSOs, but we also work with the various government agencies to ensure that road safety is now at the very heart of our transport policies and also our road infrastructure, networks. That is why you may see that in some critical areas now we are putting humps, what some people will call sleeping policemen. And throughout the Greater Banjul area now we have agreed that we want to completely, redo the road markings and put in the road furniture, the road signs, and things that will help you to know that, you are, riding into a dangerous bend or curve, or, you are driving into a school area or a mosque area or a church area or an area where, it is frequented by young children or people, or areas where, animals also cross frequently, especially in the rural areas. But the Gambia Police Force also has helped us in the recent times under the leadership of King Collie, and let me give him a shout for that. He went around the whole country and they identified all the dangerous spots where accidents have been occurring regularly. And then they have given advices what we should do in those areas, because the police cannot be in all these places.
No, they can't.
So now, we have mapped some of these areas with, critical maps and data to ensure that we put, the necessary traffic signs and also, road furniture that will help people know that these are the, problematic areas, these are the dangerous hotspots. In some areas we are building in homes, but, under the ECOWAS, motor highway and traffic regulation, in areas where you have what you have declared as a major highway that is frequented by international motorists also, you cannot put homes everywhere. So you have to be creative, with the type of safety measures that you will put on the roads. So we are working with our various stakeholders to ensure that this these are respected. However, I'm also made to understand that the police are seriously looking into some of the strategic issues of even the way licenses are issued, because I think this is also part of the problem. It's not the entire problem, because you can have the best of drivers that have qualified, but yet they are very reckless on the road. You can also have some people who are very qualified to drive, but they drink. You can also have people who actually have the license, through the normal process, and then, they are qualified for it, but yet, they choose to be very reckless. Or maybe some people, as it's a Gambian problem, you wait until it is almost time to go to a place.
5 minutes to midnight.
Yes, and then you start rushing, and then by the time you know it, you create a major problem on the highway. Sometimes, as you can see on the new OIC highway, all the railings that we have, in many areas, people will ram into them, or even the traffic, the street lights that we have. So these are some of the problems. And I think, as you have rightly stated in your question, driver sensitization is very fundamental in this. And
how are you working with the GTU, the General Transport Union, in that regard?
Well, we have a very close partnership with them. We have, I think, joint radio programs. I think West Coast Radio on the Bombastic, I think, is one of the programs.
That's not ministry.
No, that's not us. But we work with the GTU and the police. We also have a regular program on Radio Gambia. I think what we need to do also is to be innovative, to reach out to people where many young people are now. That is the social media. We cannot run away from that. To ensure that we give them the right information, we give them the safety information that they need to be responsible on the roads, but also even the elderly, because we have also seen a phenomenon that we need to talk about now in this country,
which is,
for some reason, we have a high level of high blood pressure issues in this country, and we have seen 2 or 3 cases where somebody is or a patient of this type of condition, and the person was driving, started getting dizzy, and then lost control, and then ran into a crowded market. So I think we also need the health ministry, because now that this has started coming in, and people now, driving is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity for many people now. And because of this type of conditions, it is important that, we sensitize our people that if you have these type of conditions, and when you see that certain things are not normal, don't drive. Right? I think that is critical. We have also seen in Bakote, I think a year or 2 ago, that somebody rammed into a private dwelling, killing one of the people inside. And unfortunately, he was also, attacked like a preso. And then, he said all his eyes were...
Because he was elderly? Because pressure can happen to even young people?
No, this one, I think, is in his early 50s.
That's not old. That's
not old, yes. That's what I'm saying. So it's a condition, I think, that we need to look at and we talk about as a country, that no matter what the situation is, if you think that you have this type of conditions and you feel that, because many people who have high blood pressure, they can really say or predict what the situation is going to be, because they experience it. If you know your condition, they can know exactly whether they should sit or they should take medication. And if you see that, don't drive, because it's dangerous. It can lead to other things. Yeah.
And speaking of the elderly, what about persons with disability? Are there plans to introduce a more, structured transport system to accommodate, respond to the needs of persons with disabilities?
Exactly. We have already initiated what we call a fleet renewal, process in our ministry, which is to work with the Gambia Transport Union and other private transporters to agree to this scheme that we want to introduce in this country. That your old fleet, that is carbon emitting, very bad, old vehicles, for us to partner with the private sector, and then they bring in, climate-friendly vehicles in this country, especially, for public buses, where if the elderly or the physically challenged want to get onto those buses, they can press something and the ramps will come out, so that they can go in. So those facilities are there. And the way we want to structure this is that, for example, if you have your old vehicle, we are going to value it. And then, we already have in the ecosystem now a company in this country that is buying scrap metal. So they will buy your old vehicle, and then, the value of your old vehicle now become your equity. And then you will go with that as your down payment, or what we call advance payment. And then the bank will guarantee, you will go through a guarantee system. Then every month you pay. By the time you finish paying, then the vehicle becomes yours. This has been tested in other countries, like Burkina Faso, and then, it has worked. So we are also looking at this very critically, because the only way to deal with carbon emission, trucks and other types of vehicles in this country is to introduce this new system where the private sector can bring in these vehicles, and then we come up with a new policy directive that will help everybody to access this, especially those with old vehicles, and all those ones also that want to go in for it, even if you don't have a vehicle, because we also want to encourage women in transport so that they can own their own vehicles. And then, it will be so modernized a system that things will be easier now to even collect taxes, on the earnings of the people without having to go through a whole lot of problems. So this is something that we want to do. And it will make a whole lot of sense, especially with the kind of school buses that we have, and also the public transport buses that we have, where sometimes it's so difficult for the elderly and for the persons with disabilities to actually access. So this is an initiative that we have discussed at length with some of our development partners. Now we are developing a policy around this thing, and hopefully within the next few years we will see something like this. I'm sure it is something that if the private sector understands and see the value in it, they will be most obliged to go in for it. And then we will really, really support them.
And in terms of access generally, for commuters to public transportation, I think a couple of years ago, you tried to introduce a registration system.
Yes.
Where taxis, are registered to ply a specific route. And then they can't jump and go somewhere else, to minimize this issue of what they call
double charging.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what happened to that? Because it never took off.
Well, it started, and there was a big resistance.
And you caved in to resistance? That's on Sillah like.
No, you are right. But we need a whole lot of collaboration. The ministry will come up with the policy, the police will have to implement, the drivers will have to agree. And, under the new Motor Traffic Act that we are likely going to bring before the end of the year to the National Assembly or early next year, these issues are going to be robustly addressed by the law and legislation. And it will help everybody, including the drivers, because we are getting a lot of complaints right now, especially during the rainy season or peak period, when, for example, those that are picking passengers from Banjul, they will tell you that they are stopping at Westfield.
Exactly.
You come out of the vehicle, then few distance, you'll see the same driver saying Tabokoto.
Yes.
And then you join there, then they say Lameng.
Yes.
From Lameng now, they say now Brikama.
So that is a classic example.
Yeah, we have some of our guys from the transport department that actually went on a recce to experience this. And
reconnaissance mission.
Yes, and then they explained to us exactly how people are feeling. And, we also have people that are joining public transport, and really is really very, very sad that passengers have been exploited this way. The police have done quite a lot to ensure that...
but let's go back to this registration system.
Yes.
It was meant to address this.
Yes, it was meant to...
You talked about all stakeholders, playing their part.
Yeah.
Was it the police that did not play its part? Was it the General Transport Union that didn't play its part? Was it your ministry?
Okay, I think it's a whole mix.
Was it the passengers themselves?
No, I think it's a whole mix. The passengers would be really happy to have a one tariff on a route. But let me start with our ministry also. I think, we went into this with a haste because there was a huge public outcry, and there was an urgent need.
You rushed into it.
Yes, we rushed into it. And implementing it became a big problem because the police that's supposed to help us do this needed to be fully informed and then given the right, policies and programs as to how they are going to implement this. To be honest, not everything was there. And you know that with the kind of system that we have now, with the kind of democracy that we have now, if you don't have the law in your hand, it's going to be extremely very difficult to deal with this. So that is why at the level of the police, they suggested that, look, let us review the Motor Traffic Act so that all these things that you want to do, we can have them included in the Motor Traffic Act, and then we engage the stakeholders, and that has been done. We have validated it. I mean, the Transport Union looked at it. They have given us their version of what the law, they think the law should be. And then also, the police have also, looked at it. They have given us their reaction now. Is at the Ministry of Interior that are also looking at it. When everything is finalized, we have already drafted a cabinet paper, and then we take it to cabinet. Cabinet approves it or suggests to us as to how we should do this. Then we will, finalize and then, take it to the Attorney General's chambers for it to be laid before the National Assembly. That was on our side. Now, on the side of the drivers, knowing that we have a weak policy at hand in terms of how this could be implemented, because we cannot hold them to account in terms of enforcing this thing. They were also not cooperating, so it became so hopeless and so difficult to implement. But hopefully when this
What
law
would cooperating have meant for them? Loss of revenue?
No, it wouldn't mean loss of revenue, but it would also mean efficiency even on the route. Because when you say that you are picking people to to Banjul from Brikama, we know that you don't have to bother yourself stopping, causing traffic congestion anywhere. You will go straight, and then, traffic will flow efficiently and effectively, and then you can be making a number of trips in a day. But because everybody is rushing to, have this situation on the road, it is causing not only loss of revenue even for the drivers, but also it's causing a big burden on the passengers, the commuters, the daily users of these services. And as a government, we also feel that it is important that we come in and then, have the right process in place to ensure that this is respected now. And we hope it will be. It also addresses a number of issues, this particular law, especially the drifting that we see in the country now among young people. Some of them, they don't have license. Some of them, they do the drifting in areas where, is very dangerous, because you have, congested areas where they do these things sometimes, or on major highways where you have speeding vehicles, and then, and we have seen the catastrophe that this has been causing in some areas. So we've also addressed this drifting issue in the law, so that once and for all, we can have a forward-looking legislation. Because when we look at the fines, we base it on point-based systems, like in other countries. Because if you say 1,000 for a particular offense, in the next 30 years, that 1,000, may be so little.
Yeah.
Like for example, when the Motor Traffic Act was, enacted by the colonial government, for reckless driving, I think it was $1,000. That was 1948.
1,000 up to that, maybe even less.
Or less, yeah. So you see that today, if you recklessly use a vehicle and kill somebody in the process, you can just go out and then pay 1,000 and you walk away, because that's the fine. So that is why now we are looking at it through a point-based system, and these points can be equated to the equivalent of money at any given time. And so we are looking at those things.
And just to round off on transport, because
yes.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions.
Yes, I know.
From listeners.
I know Madi will send in a question. One I know.
You are inviting Madi to contribute. Madi,
oh, I know.
Madi, take him on.
Citizen Madi. Yeah.
On the issue of regional connectivity, how are we working with Senegal and any other neighboring country to improve cross-border transport and trade routes?
Well, we already have existing bilateral agreements that we have signed with Senegal from the First Republic to now, from Jammeh's era also, from former President Jammeh's era to now. And as you can see now, there have been some improvement in terms of the national transport companies accessing each other's country. GTSC and Dakar Dem Dikk. But we still need more because at any given time, more than 60,000 to 100,000 people on a daily basis are crossing, between the two countries, either going to Casamance or going to Gambia or going to Dakar or other parts of Senegal or even Conakry, Bissau, using our borders. Therefore, it is important that we, the people in the government, look at this strategically to ensure that the free movement of our peoples are unhindered. Right now, we have gone too far, not only road transport facilities, but also even air transportation. We have finally agreed with Senegal to domesticate the route between Banjul and Dakar. Senegal, I can say, have already signed, and then, they have already written to IATA, which is the International Air Transport Association, to inform them that, the route is now domesticated. What this will do for both countries, especially for Senegal that has Air Senegal, is that we can have 3 to 7 flights between the two countries on a daily basis. If you look at the number of people that are crossing from Banjul on a daily basis or from Dakar coming to Banjul on a daily basis, who have no choice but to use the long route of the roads, I can tell you that is a minimum of between 10,000 and 15,000 alone.
People on a daily basis?
On a daily basis.
Okay. This is
now,
both,
imagine
both Gambian and Senegalese?
Both Gambian and Senegalese, okay, or even other nationals that are in Senegal wanting to cross over.
Then it should be more than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just giving you just a conservative figure. Yes. Now, assuming that we have just 5,000 of that who want to use the air services, that means that on a daily basis, for the normal flights that ply the route, they don't have more than 150 seats. So imagine if you have even 5,000 of those that want to use the air services. That is already more than
30 flights.
30 flights a day. Then you can go to Dakar, do your business, whatever you want to do, then take your time, drive to the airport, and then come back to Banjul within 45 minutes. So the benefit is huge, and it's an on-tap route. And that is why I want to thank the Honorable Minister of Finance, because in many countries, the issue of domestication, and I want to thank the finance ministers of both countries, because they had to agree to this, because to them it's like revenue loss, I mean,
you're forgetting your studio
ethics. Yes. I mean, to some people in other countries, they think that if you domesticate, you lose money in terms of taxes. But what they don't realize is what you are losing in taxes, you are gaining that from the volume. Because anybody who travels to either Gambia or Senegal, in one way or the other, you'll spend something. And that goes back to the state as revenue in form of either direct or indirect tax. So really, I want to thank both ministers of finance of the two countries and also the transport ministries for coming up with this initiative, but also our leaders, our presidents, because I remember, when we had the Presidential Council, this was one of the top priority discussion issues, on the agenda. And it was agreed. And when President Jammeh also came here, His Excellency, one of the first issues that we discussed in the conference room was the issue of domestication. Peter, I think this is a great opportunity.
Because he had, before he went into politics,
yes,
and became president, probably he encountered difficulties traveling, from Senegal to the Gambia and the Gambia back to Senegal. Yes.
Most likely. So I think this is now a great opportunity for our private sector and the private sector in Senegal to capitalize on the moment and then invest in air transportation systems so that, we can accrue the benefits. So I am happy that, we are moving ahead. The issue of the sensitivity of the unions is still there. We cannot dismiss that. But I think with the
transport unions.
The transport unions,
road transport.
Because this is not only Senegal. It's even also in our country, because I've seen a press release issued by our transport union that they want to minimize the influence of foreign commercial vehicles coming into the country.
Why is that a problem for you?
Well, I think where we are right now with our neighbors, not only Senegal, but Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, it is important that whatever we are going to do, we are in line with regional policy initiatives. To get up and then stop vehicles from entering the Gambia, I think will be an overreach. We are engaging them so that we understand the strategic, impact.
Maybe they're just retaliating. Maybe Gambian vehicles have problems entering neighboring countries.
Yeah.
I had, experience trying to drive into Guinea-Bissau.
Yeah.
It wasn't pleasant, the experience.
I know.
And if I were to see, Senegalese, or rather Guinea-Bissau, vehicles being subjected to the kind of harassment, I was subjected to, I wouldn't query. So maybe they're just retaliating.
We understand. There is a lot of sensitization and also engagement going on right now between especially 4 countries, five actually, Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau and Guinea-Conakry. Sensitization with our, for the security forces, especially the ones that are on the roads. We'll
return to that later on. I just want us to close out on this. You've spoken about domestication. You still haven't told us how domesticating the air routes in Senegal and here would benefit us Gambians.
It will see a reduce.
What would that mean price wise?
Well, right now, I think to fly to Dakar on a return ticket is about $22,000.
Okay.
When we apply the domestication, for example, what it takes you to fly from Dakar to Ziguinchor, for example, which is like 100 mil, which is about $10,000 or $11,000, is the same price that actually you will pay also from Banjul. It's like domestic. You are flying within Senegal.
Okay.
So that is important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And just to say that, we have also initiated a very pragmatic discussion with ministers of Guinea, ministers of Sierra Leone, Bissau, that are part of the Banjul Accord group, because these are the 7 countries: Liberia, Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, Cape Verde or Cabo Verde, and Guinea-Conakry, to domesticate our routes. We have agreed in principle that this should happen. Now, what is needed now is to prepare the instrument for that, and our civil aviation authorities of the respective countries, chaired by the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority, are preparing this.
Fantastic. Fingers crossed.